Hi there, you must be Dr. Turner.
Thank you.
Someone told me to get my head examined and said you're the guy to talk to.
Yes, we've developed a technique for being able to correct the position of the bones in the skull. If you've had a head injury and the bones in the skull get out of place, it decreases the space between the brain and the skull and interferes with the cerebrospinal fluid and the blood supply. And then what happens is whatever part of the brain or skull is out of place, like say you have something out of place here, that can affect your vision.
Oh yeah.
If you've got a big indent here, that can affect short-term memory. People with sleep problems can be a flat spot on the back of the head. Now we do a lot of work with people with migraine headaches. That's the bone right here, this one. That's the sphenoid that's out of place. So you can have a pain there. Or it can go in behind the eyes.
Okay. Hang on, you're a chiropractor. What are you doing manipulating the head?
Okay, now I've developed this technique for being able to adjust the bones in the skull because my son developed a learning disability after a BMX accident, and this is what helped him. So I learned how to do that.
Oh, from your own experience, you developed this procedure.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, so it started from there with learning disabilities, then we went to ADD and ADHD, then people asked us if we could help autistic kids, and now we've developed a huge protocol for helping these kids with autism. I have now taught over 750 people, chiropractors, how to do this technique, so it's available worldwide.
I see. Okay. What else can one know about preventing head injuries or taking care of their skull or the bones? And from a chiropractic point of view, I know you work with our spine and you crack it and keep that healthy. How do we keep the bones in our skull healthy? What advice do you have?
Okay,
if
well,
any?
This is what happens. This is the skull the way it's supposed to be with a healthy suture. The space between the skull and the brain is called the arachnoid space, and that's where the blood supply and the cerebrospinal fluid is. Okay, now this is normal. Now this one over here, this is what happens when the skull gets out of place. So the space between the brain and the skull gets less, so you have less cerebrospinal fluid and blood supply, oxygen and nutrition to get to the brain. And then what happens is that whatever part of the brain is right underneath there, that part is not going to function well.
Okay. You've written some books, I see, in the front here.
Yes, I've written 10 books. The first book we did was on fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. We found that these people are really, really sick, and part of the reasons why they have the problems is because the skull's out of place and the spine's out of place. Okay. They're going to have dietary problems, they're going to be dehydrated, there can be infections, there's all kinds of things involved. In order to help these people, you have to address all of these factors.
Okay.
Then the next thing we did was Autistic Kids. So I went from doing learning disabilities to ADD to ADHD, and eventually doing autistic children. We've done over 4,000 autistic children over the last 20 years, and we've been able to help some of them a little, some of them a lot. Depends on how much brain damage there is.
I see.
We've had over 40 nonverbal autistics speak in our office after the first couple of adjustments.
Okay. What can an average person do to keep their skull in good health? I mean, should we see someone like you once a month just to make sure and keep it in good shape?
It starts off, the initial part is we do an intensive treatment program in the beginning to get the positioning of the bones of the skull corrected. Once it's corrected, then you maintain it. Okay, now the average person, what they do is make sure they don't hit their head.
Right.
Okay, it's accidents and traumas and falls that cause the skull to be knocked out of place in the first place.
Okay. How do I get my head examined? What's your website?
The website is turnerwellness.com.
Right.
So you go on the website, all those articles about all these things we just talked about, and the contact information is there. We have 2 offices, one in Barrie and one in Toronto.
Great, and I'm sure we get a lot of information we can download as well on this amazing topic.
Yes, there's all kinds of articles. There's 49 pages of information on that website.
Great. Well, I think after looking at this, a person would be able to get a good head start in life by proper care with someone like you.
Getting their head examined.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.